I'm Bonnie Browning, Executive Show Director for the American Quilter Society. I'd like to welcome you to our second annual AQS Quilt Show and Contest here in Des Moines, Iowa. At this year's quilt show, we have over 1,000 quilts on exhibit. In addition to that, we have 365 vendor booths with all of the latest products. You know, this truly is a quilter's shopping paradise. And the other aspect of our show is our education program, where we have quilters and quilt instructors from all over the country. A lot of times people want to know, what do the judges look for when they look at these quilts to award the ribbons? Well, first initially the judges are going to look for color and design, scale on the quilt, amount of quilting that fills the surface, and then once they've looked at that design aspect of the quilt, they're going to be looking at the technical aspects, which would be if it's a pieced quilt, how well is it pieced? If it's an applique quilt, how well is that done? And from that, then they will usually hold those quilts that they want to consider for a ribbon. Once they do that, then at the very end, after they've looked at all the quilts, they will pull all of those quilts together and look at just those quilts that they want to award ribbons and see who did what they tried the very best to award the ribbons. Okay, this category is fiber art, and the criteria for these quilts is they must be able to stand alone on a wall like a piece of art. And this little girl, and the title of this is called Sweet Determination by Michelle Jackson from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I love this piece. I think she's done a terrific job of using different fabrics to create the shading on the face, in the hair, the wood. The quilting design also reiterates so that it looks just like a piece of wood with grain lines in it. I think she did a great job on this little girl. And Jennifer June from Whispering Pines, North Carolina made this one called A Blissful Moment. And she has certainly used a lot of different fabrics to create the depth in the skirt and in the bodice of this dress. And then look at all the threads that she's used in the head and the face and the hair. It certainly does look like a painting on a wall.
It does. It does. It's beautiful. Oh, look at the gentleman with the beard.
This one's called Disheartened Sage by Janice Johnson from Wakefield, Nebraska. And she's used a lot of thread to create dimension for the hair on this person.
A lot of work in these.
Yes. And in this category, quilters will try all different kinds of techniques. And here we have, the hair is actually woven strands of fabric. So it's three-dimensional with a little fringe at the bottom. More use of threads in the detail for the tree. And that's two-dimensional so that it actually is fuzzy. Threads and beads create the stems and outline the blossoms on these poppies by Cheryl Lennox from Erie, Illinois. If you've ever seen a wedding cake, then you've seen what they do to decorate a wedding cake with the icing and create sculptures. Well, here on this quilt you can see how the quilting has created sculpture. And on our quilts, a lot of times we're able to do it in a single color of thread to create dimension, or we can do it with colored thread to create a design. And you can see here how the pink threads, a variety of pink threads, have been used in straight line stitching to create a dimension in the bodice of this design. Now if you pull out on that, you will get to see how expertly this quilter, and this was Lori Tigner from Rapid City, South Dakota, how she's used gold metallic threads, she's used colored threads, and she's used complementary threads so that it blends right in. An amazing piece of work to me.
Absolutely.
The other thing that's really nice about this is the change of scale in that quilting, from the outer borders that are very large scale to the second inner border. They changed the scale, similar design, but we changed the scale. And then of course, she changed the pattern of those feathers in the background. And so it all blends perfectly and fills that space so well.
Bonnie, this is breathtaking. And let me ask you, what has made the feathers so popular? Because you know what? I'm looking and I'm seeing hearts here, and that is awesome. And look at all the circles.
Yes.
And what is the popularity of the feathers, Bonnie? Can you explain that?
Well, do you know the feathers were an old traditional design. We see those on lots of Amish quilts. On many of the Baltimore album quilts, they would have used feather designs back from in the mid-1800s. And I just think our quilters today have learned how to do them. And they've learned how to do them so that they can go in any direction, they can change direction with them, and they can change the scale with them all in the same piece.
This lady is truly an amazing quilter. You know, people, I'm trying to get good detail here for you to see in person. It'll just blow you away. This is breathtaking.
And she earned a second place red ribbon on this. So with the competition we had in there were 71 quilts in this category. To win second place is a huge award.
Oh my gosh, yes. Beautiful.